Hello, everyone, and welcome to More Than a Store, the official podcast of Goodwill San Antonio. I'm your host, Libby Castillo, Director of Strategic Communications, and we're so glad you're here. At Goodwill, we're more than just a store. We're a mission-driven organization creating opportunities for individuals, families, and communities to thrive. Today, we're so thrilled to have a very, very special guest with us, the President and CEO of Goodwill San Antonio, Carlos Contreras. Carlos is here to share exciting updates about Goodwill's vision for the future, including the incredible milestone of our 80th anniversary and the long-term goals outlined in our 10-year vision plan. Welcome, Carlos, and thank you for joining us today.
Hey, Libby. Thanks. I'm glad to be here.
We're so happy to have you. Before we get into Goodwill, we'd kind of like to know a little bit about Carlos, the man behind Goodwill. Can you share with our listeners a little bit about your journey to becoming the CEO of Goodwill San Antonio and what drew you to this role?
Well, I'm actually joining kind of a trend across the Goodwill network of individuals who didn't grow up in a Goodwill, who actually came to Goodwill from either the private sector or some other nonprofit, and came in as CEOs of the Goodwill. In my case, immediately before coming to Goodwill, I was working for the city of San Antonio. I worked there for about 12 years, initially as the lobbyist for the city, the director of intergovernmental relations for the city of San Antonio, handling all of the city's state and federal legislation. And then a couple of years later, my former boss, Cheryl Scully, appointed me assistant city manager, where I oversaw 5 or 6 city departments. Immediately prior to that, I was a lobbyist for a Fortune 500 company, and prior to that, I practiced law for about 18 years. So I tell people I'm a recovering attorney, but had a tremendous opportunity to learn different things in every area that I was able to work in. During the pandemic, I got a call from a recruiter about the opportunity to come to Goodwill and to serve as its CEO. And what really attracted me to Goodwill was the mission and the opportunity to help people directly and help people change their lives, change the trajectory of their lives through work, which is kind of an appealing thing for me. My dad was working as a director of what was then called the Texas Employment Commission. Today, we know of that entity as Workforce Solutions Alamo. They took the place of the commission, but the commission's job was to do 2 things. 1, to help people fill out their unemployment insurance claims, and number 2, find work. So he was the director of the San Antonio region, which incidentally happened to overlap in many, many ways with our territory, a 24-county territory. So he would go all the way to Laredo and went as far as Del Rio. And so it was really interesting that come full circle towards the end of my career, I got to participate as a leader of an organization that focused on work, because that's what he was focusing on, and covered a similar territory in South Texas. So I was really excited about that. Getting to meet our employees and getting to see the mission take place among the employees and how their lives have been changed because Goodwill decided to take a chance on them, that was really what sold it for me. Was seeing them in the stores, seeing them in other operations, and I just really wanted to be part of that. So it's been a tremendous ride.
Yeah, and how long have you been here with Goodwill?
So April 2025 will be 4 years.
4 years, and April's right around the time we were celebrating our 80th.
How coincidental is that, huh?
Yeah, so we'll get to celebrate twice.
We get to celebrate twice, we do.
That is really a tremendous journey that you've had to get here, and it seemed like your career kind of lined you up for this kind of work, and I didn't know about the history of your father as well, so that's pretty amazing.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Both San Antonio born. He was born in San Antonio. I was born in El Paso actually, but grew up in San Antonio, and so it's really great to be able to be involved with an organization that takes care of people in your hometown, and that was pretty exciting for me.
Yeah. Speaking of which, you mentioned our mission a couple of times, and this is our 6th episode of More Than a Store, and we really want to dive into how we serve our community. So can you tell our listeners how San Antonio is addressing some of those most pressing needs in our community?
So when you think about the needs of the community, we are a wonderful, wonderful community. And when we refer to community, we're talking about primarily, I guess, the San Antonio area, but the entire footprint of our 24 counties in South Texas share some of the same things. And part of that is just a unusually large segment of the population that struggles to pay their bills. And that's the case in particular in San Antonio. Sadly, close to 40% of our population, working age population, struggle to pay bills on a regular basis. And these are folks who are working 1 and 2 jobs, and they just don't make enough money to be able to pay their bills. United Way and other entities have coined a phrase referred to by the acronym of ALICE, which is Asset Limited, Income Constrained, but Employed.
Okay.
And so that is that level of pay at which people can pay their bills is roughly above 200% of the federal poverty level. Mm-hmm. And in our community today, it's just been updated recently, it's $15.05 an hour is what a family, individual has to make to be able to pay their bills. Okay. And 40% of our county doesn't make that kind of income. Wow. So that's a huge struggle. So what does Goodwill do about that? Mm-hmm. So we are at our core, a workforce development entity. And most people don't know that. They think about us as a store, yes, as they should, because that is the first interaction that the community has with Goodwill, either as a donor or as a shopper. And by the way, shopping at Goodwill stores are fantastic because you can get great items. But that's our main interaction with people is through the stores, through the donations. And that's not by accident. If you go back to the beginning and think about what was happening during the founding of Goodwill. So Goodwill was founded in 1902 in Boston, Massachusetts. Mm-hmm. At the time, probably very similar to our community. Lots of people that were struggling. And Dr. Edgar Helms, Methodist minister, was observing the plight of people that were in need. Recent immigrants to the country, poor people with disabilities. And he would go to members of the community and he would ask for donations, ask for things that people were no longer using. Mm-hmm. The concept of donating items that you already have, not cash, but items that you already have. And so he would take those donations and he would give them away initially. Over time, he realized that things weren't changing in their life that caused them difficulty in finding work. So he kept taking these donations and he would provide training for these individuals on how to work, or he would help them remove barriers that kept them from working. Mm-hmm. So we think of things like language barriers or educational barriers or training barriers. They don't have skills to be able to work, so teaching them skills. Over time, he opened up a store to start selling items that these individuals who were hired by Dr. Helms and paid, and the items that they repaired. He started selling those items, and he actually sold them in the basement of his church. Mm. He opened up a store there and started selling these items to generate the revenue so that he could continue doing what he was doing. And what he was doing was he was providing skills training and skills development. And that's the core of what Goodwill does, and that's how we can impact the community. So fast forward to 1945 in San Antonio, a group of local business members, local household names that people would recognize. If you ever shopped on the south end of town at Merculis Mall, you'll be interested to know that G.S. Merculis was one of the founding fathers of Goodwill. Wow. And O.P. Schnapel was another one. And you go to the park on the northwest side of town. O.P. Schnapel Park was named after him. He was the founder of Goodwill. So these folks were concerned about what would happen to individuals returning from World War II. 1945, World War taking place. People that are going off to serve our country, primarily men at the time, sustaining disabling injuries. What happens to them when they come back? How do they find work? So they put up their own money to start Goodwill San Antonio, and they were removing that barrier of a disabling injury to enable them to be able to work at a place and provide for their families. So over the intervening 8 decades, and in this year we celebrate our 80th anniversary, over the intervening 8 decades, Goodwill has continued to stay true to that mission, helping people develop skills and provide for themselves through work.
Right. Amazing. And could you go a little bit deeper into what kind of training we do? I mean, we have the academy, and we've met with people, Miss Angelique, that told us about that. And can you tell me some of the experiences that you've had seeing these individuals get this training? And you've been to the graduations. Can you tell me about how it feels to you as a CEO to witness that?
There are few times in one's life when you can be as proud as you are when you participate in one of our graduations. If you're a Goodwill employee, to be able to see people who these are adults. These are individuals who did not attain a credential of any kind beyond high school, maybe not even a high school diploma.
Right.
And they have decided that they wanted to change their life and provide a better opportunity for themselves and their families. So they've come to a Goodwill so that we could help them find a education and training pathway to help them get into a career. So leave an hourly wage job that they may be working at a convenience store or some other location, and be able to come in and get in a career. So we're proud to be able to offer an academy that's free to the public. So there's no qualifications. If you're breathing and you have a desire to change your life, come on in. We'll help you. We started this in probably early 2000s, and we opened up an academy here in town, and it's funded, and historically has been funded through the donations and the sales that take place at our store. So the revenue that we generate from a donation and from sales goes first and foremost to help our employees, because that's our primary part of our mission, as it was for Dr. Helms when he started Goodwill 123 years ago. So we use it to help those employees remove barriers and be successful in work. And then we also deploy that into the community, and we run these academies. So we have primarily in the medical field, so think short-term training in nursing assistant and medical assistant and pharmacy techs. These folks come through and they go through our classes. They're in an area that's conducive to adults that are coming back to try to get training. So very supportive. We have a whole host of wraparound services that we provide for individuals to keep them from failing. Because what I've observed is, because these folks are adults, because they did not obtain some kind of credential after high school, if they finished high school, and life has occurred to them, it's not easy to do what they do.
Right.
It's really a challenge, and they can easily be derailed in their attempts to change their lives. So things like utility bills or transportation challenges, or they can't, their child care challenges that they have. Any one of those issues can keep them from being successful in completing their coursework that they're trying to do. And in some cases, they're 8 months long. So to become a pharmacy technician, it's 8 months long in training, and a medical assistant's a similar way. It's 8 months before you complete that.
Right.
So lots of things can happen. Well, our team refuses to take a challenge. It refuses to take a obstacle as the challenge and an excuse for not completing. So we're calling people saying, "Hey, you missed class. Come on to class. We'll help you. What's your problem? Is it childcare? Let's help you with childcare. Let's help you with transportation issues." And it all culminates with a couple of things. One, completing the training. Mm-hmm. Two, getting the industry recognized certification, because that's important. They got to take the test. They got to pass the test. And three, finding a job. Right. The job is what it's all about. And so we get to celebrate that at our graduations, and it's tremendous. We'll have, sometimes 40 or 50 graduates and 400 family members, grandparents, nieces, nephews. Very proud of seeing their graduates walk the stage. For many of these folks, it's the first time they walked a stage, but they get to do that, and we get to be a part of it.
Yeah, I've been to some of those graduations. Well, I think all of them since I started here, and it's just so impactful. And one thing that we like to do here on our podcast is to hear from individuals whose lives have been impacted by Goodwill. And we actually got to meet with one of our recent graduates. Her name's Isabella. And Yvonne, our field reporter, went and spoke with Isabella. She's working at Health Texas now, and she's very, very proud of the education that she got at Goodwill. So we're going to go ahead and take a moment to listen to her and listen to her story right now.
Sounds great.
Just a few years ago, Isabella Fernandez and her family left their home in Peru with hopes of building a better future in the United States. Upon entering the U.S., her first obstacle was learning the language. So she enrolled in an ESL course to learn English. It was there that she heard about the medical assistant program at Goodwill San Antonio.
I was born in Venezuela, and also after we left for the difficult situation that we were living there, we got to Peru, and after 5 years, also we got a special visa to come here to the United States. And when we came here, I started my ESL classes, and after 3 months, I just passed all the classes, and they gave me these resources for medical assistant programs, and one of them was the Goodwill Academy. So I just started researching for the best program. For me, was Goodwill the best one I could choose for all the curriculum and all the resources that they have.
But the journey wasn't without obstacles. Yet the staff at the Goodwill Academy stepped in to help.
First, my instructor for me was amazing because English is not my first language. I know she knows Spanish, and that for me I was feeling confident every time because I knew that I could ask something to her, even in my language. So for me, that was amazing. Also, Mr. Rich, because I didn't have a car in that time. My dad has to drop me off every day at 6:30 in the morning, and the school was open at 8. So he just came here every single day at 6 in the morning to open the door for me, and really appreciate that. Also, Miss Pauses was just always helping me. It was like, do you want a snack? Do you want something? Do you bring lunch? Things like that you really feel appreciated and like you're important in this place.
Through hard work and the encouragement of her instructors, Isabella completed the medical assistant program. Today, she's proud to be a part of the team at Health Texas and is excited for her future.
I'm working at Health Texas as a medical assistant. As a medical assistant, you do a lot of things, but also I'm taking some courses in college, doing my prereqs for nursing school. So hopefully everything's going to be good.
Isabella's story is a powerful reminder that Goodwill is more than a store. It's a support system and a place where people can rebuild their futures.
Wasn't that amazing?
What a story.
It's such a good story. And I know we got to hear from Isabella firsthand at the summer graduation. She was our chosen student graduate speaker.
She was a keynoter, and we got to hear her story. What a tremendous inspiration. And I particularly noted that along the way, it takes so many people to help somebody become successful. Her father dropping her off before going to work and dropping her off at 6:30 in the morning. Todd Rich, one of our unsung heroes, being there at 6 o'clock in the morning to let her in because she was sitting outside waiting by herself in downtown San Antonio, and he didn't want her to be there outside by herself waiting, so he got there early to be able to let her in. So all of these things, she mentioned Mrs. Posas, members of our staff who are there dedicated to help people overcome kind of obstacles that they have to be successful. So we're really, really proud of Isabella. We know that she's going to be highly successful. We can't wait to see what the future holds for her.
Yeah, I'm so proud of her. And it was we just recently did a video with her as well, so we'll be featuring that on our website. So we'll be able to hear and see more of Isabella on goodwillsa.org. And she spoke a lot about her future and how her future is a little bit more guaranteed now because of Goodwill. And it's clear that the future is bright for her. And, speaking of that, when you think about the future of Goodwill San Antonio, what are some of the key priorities that come to mind?
Well, I cannot be more excited about the future of Goodwill San Antonio. We talked about, we're celebrating 80 years here, and there's not very many entities that have been around 8 decades in our community, and Goodwill is strong, and we have an opportunity to continue to grow and continue to serve. Our territory is 24 counties in South Texas, and we are only in 5 of those counties. So our future includes getting out into some of the areas of our territory to be able to provide services. This year, we're going to celebrate our 80th anniversary by hosting a number of events throughout the year that commemorate 80 years here in our community, including a gala that we will host, our first ever gala, on May 30th at the Tobin Center. And it's a way to introduce the community again to Goodwill and what our true mission is, our workforce development mission, our skills development mission, and use this as an opportunity to do that. But we want to celebrate, want to commemorate eight decades in our community. Beyond that, this year we have concluded a long-term vision. We wanted to look out for 10 years and see what do we strive to be 10 years from now when we
Right.
celebrate 90 years. What will Goodwill San Antonio look like? And so we went through a long process, a very detailed process of studying what we should do. We talked to stakeholders, we talked to employees, we talked to the people that we serve, and we asked them what should Goodwill look like. And we came up with a number of things, but really three aspirational goals. And one centered around our main mission, which is workforce development. And over the next decade, our aspirational goal is that when you are thinking about an entity that's a premier provider of workforce training, you think about Goodwill. And that may not seem like a lofty ambition, but it really, really is, because
Really
there's a
is.
number of entities that are doing fantastic work in our community in the workforce training space. Our community college system, Project Quest, a whole host of others, Workforce Solutions Alamo, they're providing workforce training. But what makes Goodwill unique, and why I want the community to think about Goodwill, is because we're the only entity that focuses both on its employees as part of the training, as part of the skills development, as well as the people in the community. So we're very, very unique in that. So you can go to Goodwill and receive skills training by becoming an employee
Right.
or by coming and getting some of our training. So that's what makes us unique, and we'd like the community to know that. Another pillar of our 10-year vision is, I mentioned our territory, 24 counties. We're only in 5. We really need to expand our service area within the territories that we have responsibility for.
Okay.
So some of the rural areas, et cetera, we want to be involved in. And then lastly, we recognize we can't do it alone. We need the community to help us. So developing more partnerships and really meaningful, strategic kinds of partnerships with nonprofits, with for-profit entities who are employers, with the community who are donors, better relationships and partnerships with them to help us accomplish our goals.
Yeah, and partnerships are such a big part of what we do and how we continue to succeed. And I'm really glad that you touched about our employees, our team members, how they're part of our mission. I think that's one aspect of our show here, is that it's not only the items that the programs that we provide for the community, but how we help and serve our team members as well. And can you remind me of how many team members we have?
We currently have 1,800 team members, so most of them in the Bexar County area, but 1,800 team members. We're one of the larger employers in our community, but we're blessed to have those folks because they show up every single day,
Right.
working very diligently in very difficult jobs
Yes.
to help fulfill our mission. And so that's the beauty of the work, is that we're helping them, but they're helping the community and they're helping each other. And that's what really, really inspires me. One of the things that I wanted to talk about is we've made I think a pretty bold step as Goodwill, and we realize that we're limited in our ability to serve the community by the physical constraints of our buildings.
Okay.
Our training center, our largest training center, is really, really small. And that limits the impact that we can have, although we've had a tremendous impact. Last year, in 2024, we placed over 1,200 people, probably closer to 1,400 people in the community to help find work. These are folks that just walked into our stores and asked for help finding work, and they needed jobs immediately. And so we were able to help them find work at a good pay, because we've got partners that pay well, and in areas that match what their interests are. And then on our training side, our academies, we were able to train almost 600 individuals in industry-recognized certifications and great jobs. But that's limited by the number and by the size of our facilities. So one of the things that we've done is we've acquired a building downtown San Antonio, just 1 block north of where we're sitting today, and close to our store on Commerce and Santa Rosa, 1 block north of that. We've acquired a building. It's a 10-story building along the San Pedro Creek. And our goal was to start to develop that into a campus. That's a campus for opportunity. In fact, we probably will call it the Goodwill Opportunity Campus, where we can provide additional training for folks, enlarge or increase the number of pathways that we offer. There's a huge need in our community for manufacturing, for skilled individuals to go in the manufacturing field, and we want to be able to be one of the solutions that are providing employees for that. Potential employees for that. So that takes training, and so we need facilities to do that. So this will give us an opportunity to do that. We've already acquired the building. Yep. We're doing demolition and abatement today. We've hired an architect. We're going through the process of planning how that goes in there. And we got to figure out how we're going to pay for the construction, but that'll come in time. I'm confident we can do that. But that's another exciting thing we're doing during 2025. And that'll bleed into 26 and probably early 2027 before we have a ribbon cutting.
Yeah, it's very exciting. And I know we're a podcast, but I wish that our listeners could see your face when you speak about this building. You just light up. And I know that the future is bright for Goodwill. And I'm so glad that, you're at the helm and you're leading us for the next 10 plus years,
I'm not sure about 10 years, but
we've got that plan for the next 10 years.
We've got a plan for the next 10 years, and I'm really delighted to be here, Libby. Thank you for including me on this podcast.
It's so nice to be a part of this mission. I love nonprofits. I've been in nonprofits almost my whole career, and it's empowering to see what we do for the community, and I just love to see what we do for our team members, honestly, and they feel it. You can see it within them that they know they're doing something special. Yeah. And we are, our podcast is called More Than the Store, so it's helpful for our listeners to learn all of these things from our side, our point of view, and so that they can learn that when they donate and shop, how they are truly helping the community. Now, Carlos, for our listeners who want to know, how can they get involved and support Goodwill right now and in the future?
Well, first, continue donating to Goodwill. That is the engine of everything we do, is to donate with us. Number two, learn more about us. Come take a tour. We'll provide tours to folks and help them see what the impact of their donations are. But the key is donating. Continue to donate. Make us your number one place to donate. I know that it's difficult to make donations because you got to get in your car and you got to bring it to us, and we're so grateful for that. But when you do, you become part of our mission, because 90 cents of every dollar that we generate from people's donations, from individuals' donations, and for people that, of course, that shop at our stores, goes back to the mission, and I'm very proud of that. So thank you for donating to us.
Yes, absolutely. And, before we wrap up, we like to ask all of our guests the same question, one question, which is, what is the one thing you want people to know about Goodwill?
The one thing I want people to know about Goodwill is we're there to provide resources to the community. We provide hope and opportunity for individuals who otherwise really don't have any hope and opportunity. So many people come into our stores needing a job, and we will take a chance on them. And they have now changed their lives because of that. So hope and opportunity is what Goodwill's all about.
And with that, thank you, Carlos. Thank you so much for sharing your vision and for your leadership in guiding Goodwill San Antonio into this next exciting chapter.
Thank you, Libby.
And thank you to our listeners for tuning into our More Than the Store podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. This podcast is produced by our multimedia design manager, Yvonne Berg, but we want to thank the entire marketing communications team here at Goodwill San Antonio for all their hard work in putting this episode together. And we want to share a special thanks to our friends here at Texas Public Radio for allowing us to record this episode right here in their studio. From one nonprofit organization to another, thank you. We are truly grateful for your support. For more information about this episode, check out the show notes on the More Than the Store podcast website at goodwillsa.org. And don't forget to follow us on Goodwill SA on our social media channels. Thank you again for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.